Hey, what's up? It's John from aboiselife.com, and today I just wanted to talk a little bit about my recent camping trip to Stanley, Idaho. It was my first time ever being up there. My wife, who is a Boise native, has been there before. I'm not sure about that specific campsite, but and I also don't know exactly where that campsite was. Basically, we were sent a pin in iOS or whatever to go to this location, but by the time we got there, I had no cell signal at all, so I can even look up where we are. But uh, yeah, so it was right on a little creek there, which I believe lead into a river, or maybe it was a river, and maybe a 35-minute drive from the town of Stanley. Basically, leading up to the trip, I wanted to get some camping supplies. My wife has a lot, but one thing, she prefers an air mattress, and the last time we went camping, I absolutely hated sleeping on the air mattress, just the way it's all squishy and it just doesn't feel right. So I went and bought a cot for maybe like $35 at Walmart, a couple of citronella candles, multi-tool, bug spray, all that sort of stuff to be ready to go. However, one thing I did not get was a sleeping bag. I looked up the weather for Stanley before we went and saw the low would be 46, which to me sounded chilly but not cold. Anyway, by the time the first night rolled around, and so basically I brought two blankets, like a little fleece blanket and maybe more like a quilt blanket. Got comfortable in the cot. By the time I went to bed, maybe 10, 11 o'clock, it was chilly but not cold. I felt fine. I woke up maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours later, absolutely freezing, like shivering, and it was intense. A lot colder than I expected, so I ended up having to move over onto the air mattress and trying to share a one-person sleeping bag with my wife, which worked for a little bit, but I woke up again maybe around 4 in the morning, even colder than before, and decided I had to go try to sleep in the car because I could not take the cold anymore. So I took those blankets, got into the passenger seat of the car, laid it back, tried to sleep. It didn't really work out. It's hard to get comfortable there. I couldn't sleep in the back because we had it filled with all kinds of the rest of our gear, food, coolers, and stuff like that. So I tried to sleep there. I basically laid there until the sun came up and made my way back to the tent when it started to get a little warmer, and was basically up for the day at that point. We had breakfast, and after breakfast, I was dead tired, so I moved my cot outside of the tent and went and took a nap back there. Basically, at this point, everyone was taking a trip to a lake, but I was way too tired to move, so I stayed behind, slept there. Eventually, my wife and sister-in-law came back for me and kindly drove me into Stanley so I could look for a sleeping bag so I wouldn't be miserable again Saturday night. Unfortunately, the only sleeping bags they had were 0-degree sleeping bags, which were like $140, and fleece sleeping bags that were terribly thin for maybe like $40. So I had to get the expensive sleeping bag. But one thing I'll say is, going around to the stores in Stanley, everyone there seemed incredibly nice. It was my first time being there, so it was really cool just interacting with that community. Anyway, we made our way back, spent the rest of the day, hanging out just in nature, drinking, all that fun stuff, and it was a lot warmer that night. The one thing I will say is the scenery around the campsite was incredibly beautiful. I liked being right on the creek, just like hearing the water run by at night and just looking out at all the trees and everything. Our dog had a blast there. He wore himself out, as you can see, him falling asleep by the campfire pretty early in the night, and I don't know, it was a pretty fun time. I'm usually not a huge fan of camping. I'm more of a indoor techie person, so getting out there, it was nice. It's just the first night without a sleeping bag kind of ruined the second day for me, just being tired, basically. It was not fun, but I think I'll be better prepared next time. And anyway, that is my trip to Stanley, and I just wanted to share some pictures. So, thanks for listening.